The letter Ayin means eye. In the shape of the Ayin, we can use our imagination and see the top of the Ayin are two branches, each one an eye, and the two lines come down and meet in one line, and this can be seen as the two optic nerves as they come and enter into the brain. This is a creative and imaginative way to connect the meaning of Ayin to the shape. Many times in the Torah, it says God looked or God saw. Now we know that God does not have physical eyes, but what we are being taught is that God's eyes, as it were, is a concept called divine providence, hashgacha prati, that God is looking and has control and is a part of everything that happens in this world. That is what divine providence is. There's a beautiful verse in the Torah that says the eyes of God are on the land of Israel from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And from this we learn that this is one of the understandings of why Israel is called the Holy Land and why so many spiritual paths and religions have emanated from the Holy Land and why everyone seems to want to conquer Israel throughout the ages, is because the eyes of God are on the land from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. The Ayin equals 70. As we've learned, 10 times any number represents the full manifestation of that number. 70 is 10 times 7. 7 we found to be one of the most archetypal of numbers because it represents the classic cycle that God created for 6 days and rested, and we have the first Shabbat. And ever since, we imitate that same cycle in our lives, that we work for 6 days and we rest. But in creation, the resting on Shabbat means the completion of creation and even more the purpose of creation. So 10 times 7 equaling 70 means that symbolically 70 has to do with a greater purpose and how that purpose is manifest on every single level of reality through, as it were, the eyes of God. Therefore, we see the number 70 as the descendants of Noah, as the number of Jewish souls that went down to Egypt, the elders in the desert, and the 70 members of the Sanhedrin. Now, interestingly enough, with all of these is a relationship between 1 and 70, because there was Noah and his 70 descendants. There was Yaakov and the 70 souls that went down to Egypt. There was Moshe and the 70 elders, and there was what's called the prince of the Sanhedrin and the 70 other members. There were actually 71 members. Now, it's very interesting that the letter Aleph, which equals 1, and the letter Ayin, which is 70, linguistically and Kabbalistically are interchangeable. And many times, to see a deeper meaning of a word, we exchange an Aleph for an Ayin or Ayin for an Aleph to get a deeper understanding of that word. So on all these different levels, the Ayin represents God's providence in the world and how that manifests itself in the development of man and of history. A beautiful meditation for the letter Ayin would be to concentrate on how God is present in your life, how His providence touches you, and how you can see at different stages in your life how we were being guided by the hand of God, as represented by God looking at us lovingly.